What is up, guys? Nrdszn here. What we're talking about today is Marvel Cinematic Universe. Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe changed cinema forever. I stand by that. I think you would too. But today, after rewatching them this last weekend, all of them, I'm going to be ranking them. And I'm excited to share with you what those rankings are and why I rank them this way. Let's just say this could get very controversial. Without further ado, we're going to jump right into this. And I got to say, we're going to start from worst to best. And it's tough for me to do this, but number 6 is going to be The Incredible Hulk. The storyline within it just didn't really mean much to me. Edward Norton is a phenomenal actor, but he's not a good Hulk. And his face transitioning to the Hulk looked more like I ate too much Taco Bell. And so I didn't really vibe with it. The military government aspect to this was really stupid. And the Abomination fight was about all that really intrigued me. I think Liv Tyler was a fair casting, and I think she did a fairly good job. But overall, the movie, in comparison to the other movies on this list, it doesn't stack up. It doesn't come near them. So from 6 to 5, there is a big jump, okay? But number 5 on the list for me is Iron Man 2, which hurts to put it there because I think that Iron Man 2 is overly hated. I think it's not as bad as what a lot of people say. However, again, compared to the other movies on this list, I don't think it stacks up quite the same. It is intriguing. It's a interesting storyline, but there's not that much being done as Iron Man. I like the exploring of the character development of Tony Stark. Felt more like a Tony Stark movie than an Iron Man movie, but in the wrong ways. Scarlett Johansson in this, kind of a cool feature and appearance and introduction to this. I liked that aspect of this. The villain had depth, but wasn't a very cool villain to me, meaning the electric guy. I forget his name off the top of my head, but the arch rival guy is just annoying and stupid. It just didn't add that much to me. I was more concerned about Tony Stark versus Tony Stark than I was about him versus the bad guys in this, though there were some iconic scenes and some wonderful things going on in this. But it didn't woo me like the first Iron Man. Next, and this is where it gets controversial, though I think 3 and 4 could be arguably interchangeable for me, I still, in a paradox, stand firm on this placement. Number 4 is going to be Captain America. Hear me out. I'm not talking about Captain America as a superhero. I'm talking about the movie Captain America, the first Avenger. I think pacing in this movie was a complete mess. I think the focal point of the story was a mess as well, which just makes it not my favorite. You rank it higher on this list, that's totally fine. I do like Captain America. I don't love him as much as a lot of other people love him, but I still find him a really cool character. But the pacing of this movie was a gigantic flaw. We are going through the origin story, which is well and good, but when we finally get to the war and Captain America in action, it feels not extravagant. It doesn't feel like his big moment. There are moments that are cool and him walking up the road, but him fighting and how he goes from being this humble, confident, full of conviction, mind you, guy, skinny, scrawny, bullied kid, to Captain America. Somehow through that process, he becomes this cocky, confident, arrogant fighter man. I don't know. Just some of it doesn't make sense to me. And overall, the focus of the movie felt more like a romance than it did an action superhero origin story, which is why it kind of goes to number 4 for me, because number 3 is going to be Thor, though it has very similar story arc and planning parallel to one another in the origin story of us getting introduced to Thor. Thor has always been Thor, but he has to find himself in this, and there's character development. The fish out of water trope makes Chris Hemsworth's acting questionable. I think he's a good actor for certain roles, and I think he's a good Thor, as we maybe see in later movies. But the fish out of water trope, meaning he's used to Asgard and ends up at Earth and he doesn't know what life is like, just wasn't acted amazing. But I think the story, him versus Loki, his dad, the plot twist, the background, all of that is a way more interesting, not intrinsic, interesting storyline, plot line, conflict line than anything in Captain America. Captain America, Hydra feels flat. Red Skull did not get the flowers he deserved as a character. He's intriguing. He's awesome. He gets his moments, but he could have been such a cooler, formidable opponent. Not quite the level of Thanos, but they should have given him a little bit more of a Thanos treatment. In my opinion, the Hydra soldiers, garbage, worthless, pointless, just lame, garbanzo beans, fugues. It just is. So when we look at Thor and the enemy and the conflict in this and the battle between the brothers and so on and so forth, I find it way more intriguing. But if you're a Captain America fan, then you can fight me in the comments. Also, if you're a Captain America fan, you probably like Captain America comics. And this video is brought to you by none other than myself. I am a Whatnot reseller and sell comics. And if you enjoy comics like this, Captain America #3. Look at that. The United States of Captain America. Some 65-cent comics of Captain America. Check those out. If that is something that interests you and you like, then make sure you check out the description below. It's a link to my Whatnot shop as well as my next show. You can tune into those things and get some of your hero comics for quite a deal, mind you. Really, check it out. So now that the ad is over, if you love Captain America, I can understand why you'd be upset with this, because I think widely the most popular opinion is Captain America is one of the best movies out of this bunch. I just disagree flatly. I think from a movie cinematic entertainment standpoint, it's not. We love the underdog trope more than we love the fish out of water trope, and that alone will sell this better to people in a wide audience. But if you look at it from a critical eye point of view, both movies, I think that Thor has better conflict, better overall story throughout it. There is a flaw with Thor, however, the dealing with Loki at the end. I don't understand why we're just letting him stand around and be around and all these different things. There's some of that is a little bit weird to me. But I like that Thor and Jane Foster was hinted and teased throughout the entire movie, but it wasn't the main focus. Captain America, it felt like the main focus to me was Agent Carter and him falling in love. I mean, to the point where Bucky's scene of dying felt so quick and almost meaningless. It really did. And so I have some issues with that and think that that's going to be a bit of a problem in people's opinions, but I'm probably wrong because most people like Captain America. The movie, again, I don't mind Captain America, the superhero. I'm talking specifically the movie. But the movies both end with the self-sacrificing, saying goodbye to the girl, potentially never going to see them again, that sort of a thing. And so that I think they mirror each other and do excellent at. I think both are equally as sad, minus the fact that Loki's just chilling around at the end of Thor. But enough of that, the debate between Thor and Captain America. Thor is firmly at 3. Captain America's at #4, but I understand if you have it different. But now is where we go to another large leap. #1 and #2 on this list are far above and beyond every other movie on this list. And I mean that. And I jumped the gun the other day when I posted my ranking short video where I quickly ranked them because I was still in the middle of watching Avengers. And when I finally finished Avengers, I realized I made a mistake. And why? Because I put Avengers at #1. But in reality, it sits firmly at #2 because the longer I thought about it, I think the Avengers has really high highs, but it also has some flaws and some deep lows. And so with that, I think it's not as good as the #1 movie in Phase 1, which we'll get to in a moment. The Avengers is great. The concept is great. The enemy is I like Loki leading them. I think you get some of the greatest Loki moments. But I think some of the best Loki moments are yet to come in other phases, but mind you, we'll just leave it at that. Tease a future video for you. But ultimately, Avengers, solid movie. The final battle felt repetitive to me and not very fresh, though this was an exciting moment for all of them to be on screen. I have nostalgia value with this, but it's not one that I want to sit down and watch repeatedly like I do number one, and that is Iron Man. Iron Man perfectly casted. Maybe not as many highs in Iron Man as Avengers, but I can't think of one point in the first Iron Man where I'm thinking this is not a good movie. Everything about Iron Man was good, excellent. It was darn near flawless. And if you asked me to name some flaws, I would have to think really hard and probably make something up just to pander to the crowd that's probably still upset about Captain America being at 4. But in reality, I think Iron Man carried Phase 1. I think it was ultimately the best movie in Phase 1 by a mile. I just think Iron Man, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., it fitting all together was phenomenal. It was. It was beyond phenomenal in this movie, in this whole phase. And to be honest, if Iron Man would have been bad, we would have never gotten the other movies. We all know that. What changed the game for everybody was the Iron Man movie and how excellent it was. And I understand if other people like other superheroes more. I'm not talking about a superhero ranking list. I'm talking about specifically just the movies. And Iron Man, the first one, that movie is beyond every other movie on this list. That is a fact. You could argue 2 through 6 all you want. Go ahead. Down in the comments down below, let me know your ranking. But if anybody doesn't have Iron Man at number 1, you are just flat out lying and don't understand what makes a good movie. And you're probably biased. Because guess what? Iron Man's not even my favorite superhero. Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, probably up there in the top 5 of best superheroes, I think. But ultimately, he's not my favorite superhero. So I'm not looking at this from this biased. And it's just a fact. All right, guys. But please, by all means, fight me in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Check out the Whatnot shows in the future over on the Whatnot app where I'm selling comics and other collectibles for you. I really appreciate you guys. This video is a day late. I'm sorry, but don't forget Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'll be uploading new videos. Try to get shorts out to you every single day. So stay tuned for more. We'll catch y'all later, nerds. This has been Nerdszn. We'll see you.